Welcome to the CPTM Smart Partners Hub. Today is Friday, 11th of March, and it's the end of the week, but it's the beginning of spring. And next Monday, we are celebrating in the Commonwealth Day. It's first Monday every year in March. So this year, it will be on 14th of March, Monday. The Commonwealth Day in 2016 has as one of the main themes an inclusive Commonwealth. Now it's not surprising that, because by definition the Commonwealth, it implies inclusivity. But in the last few years there was a realization that economic growth, and particularly socio-economic transformation, cannot take place unless operative forms of achieving inclusivity are being put in place. And in fact, they form probably the main or the most major contribution that a group of countries, such as those 53 in the Commonwealth, would be able to achieve. Within the Commonwealth, there are a number of initiatives. The Commonwealth Secretariat has, all the many Commonwealth organizations have got their own initiatives, who are all supporting the achievement of the inclusive Commonwealth. Now, Commonwealth Partnership for Technology Management, the members of the CPTM and its Smart Partnership movement, in the last 20 years, they've been experimenting and practicing inclusivity for a number of reasons. And there is a message that the CPTM members this year have put together, and it has been forwarded to the head of the Commonwealth, Her Majesty, to the Secretary General, the new designated Secretary General of the Commonwealth, and of course to all the countries in the Commonwealth through their representatives, High Commissioners in London. The message says that the Commonwealth Partnership for Technology Management operated under an inclusive governance right from the 1995, when the Commonwealth Heads of Government in 1995 in New Zealand set it up. Why? Because it brings together under one umbrella governments, private and public sector organizations, and professional networkers. Now, why an inclusive governance as it was built into the CPTM is essential for achieving an inclusive approach? Is because rather than having different entities and different actors or shareholders, as is being referred to, under different institutional umbrellas, the CPTM, the heads of government who established this, built in an inclusive governance under one umbrella, so that they have one core mission to achieve under that umbrella, and the institutional inclusive governance will assist them to do so. And this was done and achieved for 20 years by now, for the benefit of the countries and institutions in the Commonwealth. The core mission of CPTM was and is to achieve a smart inclusive growth through the application of a smart partnership practice, which they evolved and developed, which is based on inclusive approach. CPTM's delivery of support and advisory services is also conducted through an inclusive approach, such as smart partnership dialogues and targeted joint networking. The measure of the success of the delivery of advisory services by CPTM members to themselves is indicated by the networkability, which is equivalent to inclusivity in any country or institutional framework where a problem, a task needs to be achieved. Therefore, the measure of inclusivity in the Commonwealth can only be achieved through measuring the establishment or on continuous catalyzing networkability, a joint interaction between various institutions, between various individuals, various professions, various interdisciplinary contributions in relation to a particular problem or task that needs to be resolved. Within the CPTM in the last few years, this was manifested in addition to the main brand of CPTM, the Smart Partnership International Dialogues, through a number of very specific, therefore, inclusive initiatives, either related to financial inclusion, together with a core group of central banks, who for a number of years tackled a number of issues which they shared with the Commonwealth finance ministers each and every year. The Bureau of Standards, the Quality and Standards in inclusive initiatives, which again, not only on its own, but interacting with the financial inclusion, they've been contributing, and they continue to further develop, an inclusive approach to carrying forward national visions. But in addition to that, to very specific priorities in the countries, be them connected towards sustainable development goals or connected to very specific issues related to trade, tourism, IT, cybersecurity, and all the various opportunities and challenges that are faced by our countries. The delivery mode, which is an inclusive mode, is also manifested through think tanking, which is forward-looking, through dialoguing, and obviously through ongoing networking. But the networking cannot be achieved simply through, as we know, writing emails or using Facebook or any other form of social media or giving cards to each other. Networking is the most sophisticated mode of delivery. And the reason why is because there is a need for an inclusive approach at any point of time, in real time. And that approach needs to be guided and needs to be nurtured for the purpose for which is being used. So, Commonwealth Partnership for Technology Management developed and contributed to the art of and the operative aspects of networking, and as a base for networking, principles of smart partnership, together with the limitless opportunities as a manifesto, has been promoted. Therefore, we think that Commonwealth Partnership for Technology Management was able in the last 20 years, and will continue for the years to come, to hint to each and every country in the Commonwealth or situation that countries have to deal with, that without an operative framework for an inclusive approach, socio-economic transformation cannot take place. So therefore, join the CPTM and join all of us in the celebration of the Commonwealth Day with the theme An Inclusive Commonwealth on Monday. The one of the main reasons why also inclusive approach is essential is because of the deriving complexity, which in itself derives from higher and higher interconnection, not only of issues, but also of people and tools and technologies. And that complexity increases the risk that a country or a government system or a central bank needs to deal with. A very interesting experience has been put together by the former central bank governor of UK, Mervyn King, in a recent book that he just published, in which he's dealing with uncertainty principles and the risks of with which the central banks need to deal with. Of course, the central banks are trying to develop and to pick up new technologies, blockchain technology and all sorts of other aspects to do with financial technology. And that in itself increases the financial regulations, and the complexity theory is required to understand at any point of time, or maybe to be able to get insights 3 years in advance of a likely crisis. Now, Professor Doane Farmer, a most well-known physicist, but specialist in complexity theory, from Santa Fe, Los Alamos, but currently, in the last few years, member of the Institute of New Economic Thinking in Oxford, and also of the Oxford Martin Institute, has been advancing his understanding of how complexity theory and financial regulations, for the reasons which I mentioned, are very important to be put in place in any country, not just in developed countries. Finally, as we in December discussed, we were trying to assess why smart partnership therefore grows. Now, why smart partnership grows is because information grows. But why information grows? Information grows because people are more connected, and therefore information and tools are evolving, causing as much explosion of information as anybody would imagine. But then one is saying, why people then know so little, particularly about politics and about what we can do about it? Why, in other words, people are uninformed? And then how could we deal with being uninformed? So here is a paradox between more and more information, need for more and more smart partnership, which grows because of that. But then we need to look probably in the next week or so into some of the activities of CPTM members and smart partners who are undertaking during the 16-17 framework of their activities to deal with the issue of not being uninformed. So the CPTM role and the CPTM mission is to ensure that people are less and less informed. And have a nice weekend, and have a good Commonwealth Day Monday. You can follow it, I'm sure, on the webcast and on the internet. And in the meantime, our CPTM members' message, you yourself could circulate it to your institutions and to any of your network, so that people understand that there is a way forward in dealing with inclusive approach in an operative way.